Hello everyone and welcome to Cardboard Adventures. My name is Sam Wilde. I am the Artistic Director of cardboardadventures.co.uk and I am here today to show you how to make a cardboard dragon head, which is from our show Boxville, which if you haven't seen you should, it's incredible. Right, let's get ourselves started. So hopefully you've already been to the website cardboardadventures.co.uk and you've downloaded your pattern and printed out the pieces. Now I've already printed out and cut out all of my cardboard pieces. They're all ready to go. But if you follow the instructions, lay them out, that's relatively simple. Okay, so I have got my cardboard pieces. I have got my glue gun all heated up and ready to go. I have got myself my lovely cardboard craft tape. I've got myself a craft knife. I use a retractable one because it's just a little bit safer. You can pop the blade away. I've got my tiny cutting mat, and I've also got some coloured card, and I've already cut out the shapes of those. You can use whatever colour you like. We've used orange and red, and I will talk to you about that later. Okay, let's dive on. Right, first things first. So I have got my head side one. You can pick either one you want. I've cut out the shape. The trick out for cutting out these sorts of things, if you've got a shape with a hole in it, make sure you cut the hole out first, then the rest of the shape will make it a little bit easier for you. Right, I have got my top piece. So this is going to be the top of the dragon's head. Again, the most important thing about working with cardboard is paying attention to the grain. So you can see the lines going down this way. If you look at it this side, you can see that wavy configuration. It's different from this way. It just means it's easy to bend that way, hard to bend the other way. We want this to be an easy bend piece, so make sure you've got your grain running the right way. Right, I am going to place this here, and I am just going to use some of my handy craft tape to fix that in. So I'm just going to tape that piece here, so it's the end of the top to the dragon's nose. See there, end of the top to the dragon's nose. And then I'm going to use a couple of pieces of tape just to hold that in place, going all the way along. There we are. Now, a good craft tape is essential, okay? You can use whatever you want. If you want to use a masking tape, coloured tape, whatever, just make sure you're comfortable with it. It's like an extra pair of hands, okay? And as you can see, it's starting to take shape. Now, what you can do once you've got that in place is just get your glue gun and just run a line of it all the way along there if you feel it needs it. And then, get your next side, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing, starting from exactly the same point. Use my tape, attaching it on. Here we are. And making sure that's exactly the same, it's just mirrored, okay? We are going to tidy this up in just a second. There we go. And again, I'm just going to run my glue gun down that inside edge. It doesn't need to be so pretty because it's on the inside. It's just to make it super secure so that when you are a dragon, you don't need to be worrying about all this roaring. Okay, you can just be a dragon. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my tape. I'm just going to go over this seam. Now this is a little technique that I use time and time again, and I have become very good and very quick at it. So once I've got it like this, I'm just going to cut some slips very carefully because we're using a knife, let's be careful. You could always use a pair of scissors for this as well. So I've cut some little strips in that, and I am just flattening them down just to make that edge really clean, really strong. There we go. There we are. So we've got this in secure. We're just going to run the tape over this piece. Now this is a technique that I have used time and time again and always serves me well. It is noisy tape, so I apologise. What I'm going to do is just run that tape along that top edge. Ooh. And then I'm going to get my craft knife. You could use a pair of scissors for this piece. Do be careful, please. Knives are sharp. We use them for cutting. Their job is to cut. And I'm just cutting these little strips along here, and then I just flatten them down. As I say, I use this technique time and time again. It strengthens the edge, it shores everything up, and I have become very, very, very quick at it. There we are. So I've tidied up both edges and I've just rubbed the inside edge with my craft knife just to smooth that down, make sure it's super secure. Right, the next step is to take our back piece. Now the grain is running this way on this piece. As I say, grain is the most important thing. If I teach you one thing, it's that, to pay attention to the grain. So I have got my head, and what we need to do is just fold in these edges here. There are little marked lines on the pattern. We'll show you how to do that. And you want to place this in and glue it down, okay? So I'm just going to pop a little bit of hot glue on that end. You don't need a lot of hot glue, just to hold that firm, and then again on the other side. That will just hold that tight and in place. And what's that? That's about, so from the furthest horn, this horn here, it's about 6 centimeters in there. Once we've got that done, and it is already starting to look very dragon-like, we are going to get our spikes, and we're going to attach those to the back of the head. So just a little drill of hot glue there, and they just sit flat in that side. One side, and then the other. Again, you can tuck those in if you need them. You can make them further out. It is your dragon, you make it your way, okay? I ain't telling you how to make a dragon, I'm just showing you some of the techniques. Right, we just pop that to one side while we, get rid of that cobweb, while we make ourselves our horn. A dragon is not a dragon without a horn. So we've got our 2 pieces, our 2 horn sides, they're ready, and then we've got our front and back. Now the grain on this one is running this way, okay? Which means it wants to bend this way. So we can curve those pieces out. Now we're going to get a bit of tape, and we are attaching this horn front within the sides, so look like this. See there? And that's going to curve along that edge. Again, using our craft tape as our extra pair of helping hands, just to hold that in place. And voila! That's one side. Take our horn back. We're going to do exactly the same there, okay? Now this again is something we use time and time again at Cardboard Adventures. The idea that we create a shape and then we're going to use the second half of this horn just to firm it up, secure it in place at the very end. Close that off that unit. It's always the hardest piece to do. And there we go. So I'm just going to get myself a little bit of hot glue and run it along that inside edge. I'm then going to run it across this top edge here and here. And I'm going to attach this piece onto there. With a little bit of encouragement, it should fit nicely. There we go. Just give me a moment to hold that in place as it sets. Use a little bit of the old tape just to secure it nice and firm. Oh. Here we are. And you can see our horn shape. Okay. Once this is all set, I'm just going to run a bit of glue down the inside edge of that other side just to secure it again. There we are. And I will then use the tape again to seal it all up, make it look all pretty, and this will happen almost instantaneously. And there we have it. As I said, instantaneously, we have a horn that is all sealed off in that same technique. So I run around the edges with my craft tape and made those little flanges and I folded those in. Next step, I'm just going to flatten these edges on the inside. There we go. I'm going to run my glue gun around those top edges. Again, you'd be surprised how little hot glue you need. Around those top edges, just so it's ready, and that's going to go right on the top of our dragon's head. Right here, as you can see. So I've placed it on the hot glue gun, and I've just placed that on top of our dragon's head. Okay, now that's going to take a moment to set, so I'm just going to pop that to one side, and I'm going to move these pieces over. So this is our lower jaw, okay, our lower jaw. We have two pieces here, and then we have this bit, with the grain running this way. So we need to fold it round a little bit. Now, there is a little bit of a tricky knack to this piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit of tape here just to hold this piece in place. And it's just holding it there. And as you can see, what's going to happen is it curves around the front of this and then continues at an angle here, allowing us top and bottom spaces. Okay, so we're about 1 inch off this top edge here. Okay, we can use our tape to secure that in place. There we go, our little extra helping hand there. And we're going to run our hot glue around that inside edge. And it is worth just taking that moment just to carry on holding that, just to keep it secure in place as our glue sets. And I will use my wonderful cardboard crafting skills to make that happen. There we are, just about have it. And then we're going to mirror that on the other side. So this piece is going to go on. Mirror it with a bit of tape just to hold it in place, using that front edge. Laying that down and then running that hot glue around that inside edge and just holding it in place as it sets. And there we have it. So that's our bottom jaw in place. Okay, and much like a pig, it's made in two pieces. Right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this in. So it goes on the inside, should just fit snugly like that. Now remember, our face is going to be in there looking out, so make sure you get it in a nice position. I reckon about there. Looks good to me. So once I've got that position nice, I'm just going to dab a few bits of hot glue on the inside. Make sure I've got a nice enough gap there that I can see out of. And do that on both sides, okay? Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Now I'm just going to pop that to one side for another moment while that sets. And whilst that's doing that, we'll make our eyes. So I've got all our pieces cut out. So first things first, I've got our eyes. Now the tricky thing to remember on our eyes is we've got one on either side of our head, okay? So let's do that. So we've got to mirror them. Now my daughter Clementine decided on the colour of these eyes. She said, I want it to have a red eye and an orange eye, just like my sister, who has brown eyes. But there you go. So I've just cut them out of coloured card, any colour you want. And I've also drawn that little pupil detail on beforehand. There we go, so I'm just popping those on so we have our eyes colourful. Now we have this next step, which is our wedge. So it's just a semicircle of cardboard. And that's just gonna go towards the sort of back of the eye there. And that's just so that when we stick them on, it's not flat on the side of the head. If you put them on flat on the side of the head, it looks, you lose that detail when it's looking head on straight at you. Just by allowing that little angle means we can see them a bit more. There we go, they're looking quite good. There we go, and by that point our head should be dry and ready to go. So I'm just going to put the orange eye on this side. It looks like a good place. So a little bit of hot glue around that curve, and then a bit more on our wedge. There you go. Push that down, give that a second to set. We're nearly there, folks, we're nearly there. Turn it over. Now the tricky thing I always find is trying to make sure our eyes stay even. That's the bit I always struggle on. So I find it's helpful to look at it straight on. Get my eye and then try and... That's pretty good, you know, that's pretty good. Tell I've done this before, can't you? Holding that in place. Give that a second. And you see what I mean? Now, because of those wedges, we still get a bit of the eye, just a little bit, so we can see it straight on. Lovely, that's pretty good. Now, our cardboard dragon is taking shape. One last step is our tooth. Now, I've double layered this, so that's 2 pieces already glued. It's just quite a thin piece, so it's better to strengthen it out. Now, that can go anywhere in your mouth that you want. You can make loads of these teeth. I quite like them just having the one. Bit of hot glue. And just hold that in place. Now there is one last step about this. Now that is your headband. Now I have already made mine into a loop, so I had a long strip of cardboard and then I have made it the right shape. Now it won't fit my head, it's made for my daughter's head. Yes, so it's made a long lip with a grain running that way, and I've secured it so it will fit on her head. Now the next step, last step here, is just to secure that on the inside. So I'm going to put a bit of hot glue here on either side, and that's going to go inside. It's a bit tricky to show you, but I'm attaching it to that back piece here and then either side of the head. So let me lift that up so you can see. So I've attached it here and to either side of the head here, so that when we put that shing in, that should hopefully make it a nice, secure, comfortable hold for my daughter Clementine. So she can put this on and chase me around the house and have a wonderful, rawsome time. And this is our cardboard dragon. So now it's time for you to decorate it, stick some blemishes on it, colour it in, create it, make it your own. I would put it on and dance around for you, but my head is huge, so I won't. Thank you so much. Do try and catch this. As I say, this is from Boxville, our show, and do check out some more patterns. There's lots of free content on cardboardadventures.co.uk. Sam Wilde, signing out.